This is Play North, the Manitoba Game Show on Shaw TV 102.9 CHTM. We're also on YouTube and all sorts of social media. You can find us by checking our hashtag PlayNorth. And if you want to sign up for the games, we would love to have you. www.manitobagames.ca is where you can find us. The games are going March 4th to 10th, 2018. We got a lot of work to do between now and then. Joining me is a guy who's no stranger to most people in town who had some long-term aches and pains. You fixed up a lot of people. Paul Pritchard is one of the two people looking after care and comfort. Care and comfort. You sort of have the behind-the-scenes kind of stuff. So it seems to me you know a lot about fixing joints and getting people tuned up and back on the road, but how did you end up as part of the care and comfort group at the Manitoba Games? Because you're not going to be fixing people.
No, I certainly am not. I'm not sure how I got chosen. Murray Kissick approached me one day and asked if I'd be interested, and now that I've left practice and I'm retired, I thought I had the time and was happy to pitch in. So I'm responsible. I'm a divisional co-chair. Harold Smith and I chair sections that are loosely called care and comfort. I look after operations. He looks after athletes' services. So under my portfolio, I have five committees actually. Technology, which is run by Charlie Hendren. Warehouse and distribution, which is run by Mick Slack. Signage, which is run by Ed Daniluk and Ryan Alt. And medical, which is run by Kate Whidden. And Harold and I will also be co-chairing a small committee called Turnaround Day, which is in the middle of the week.
That one's going to be nuts. I think we got to do a whole show on that one. The way it seems to me that your jobs are split up between yourself and Harold is Harold's kind of got the out front sort of stuff. He's looking after athlete villages and entertainment. And a lot of the stuff you have is background. It's almost like a good referee at a hockey game. If you don't notice them, things went well. And I feel like the bits and pieces you have are a little bit that way too. They're not out front, but you guys have a lot of work to do.
We have a lot of work to do and a lot of work to be prepared way in advance. And when it comes down, the best indicator of our success will be that everything goes smoothly and quietly and we don't have any episodes that need a lot of emergency intervention.
Everybody says, Paul Pritchard, who? We didn't even know he was there, and that'd be a massive success. So just before we jump into, we wanted to focus a little bit on signage. We're standing here underneath the one of the showpieces of what you're going to do, the giant the highway signs. But you were just down in Winnipeg for a little bit of a knowledge transfer event. Tell us a bit about that.
We were down in Winnipeg for the Canada Games, and we were there for something called a transfer of knowledge. And the Canada Games, which was hosted by Winnipeg, put on this 4-day seminar, and it was for all sorts of games. It was Invictus Games. There was Canada Games that are coming up in the future. There are games in Northern Canada. I forget what they're called. The indigenous
Arctic Winter Games.
The Arctic Winter Games. There were several different types of games, and they brought in every one of their specialists. So they'd bring in the signage guy, they'd bring in the medical person, they'd bring in the volunteer person, and they'd put on a half-hour or an hour presentation, all following the same format. It was fantastic. And then for 2 afternoons, they took us around to a lot of the venues to see firsthand what was going on. It was gave you an indication of what we're in for. On a smaller scale, obviously they have 4,000 athletes. We have about 16 to 1,800. So it's quite a different scale, but it runs on the same format and the same sort of platform.
It's fantastic. I mean, nice for us to get that support from Sport Manitoba and to have the support of those other games. Was there one thing that you came away from? Was there a real eye-opener or some nugget that you got out of that event?
Well, Harold and I wrote up a report and submitted it to our executive. I think one of the things that really struck me was that you're focused on the athletes, and you're focused on making the experience for the athletes as much as it can be. But the thing that really struck me was we heard it from several people saying sports runs the games. And by that they mean the sports schedule, what time things take place and how it's run, sets the schedule for everything else. So if we get a snow day and all of a sudden you can't run an outdoor sport, or something happens, the ice plant goes down overnight and all of a sudden nothing happens on the ice, and you have to rejig the schedule It affects signage, it affects food services, it affects transportation, it affects medical, it affects volunteers. You got to contact all your volunteers. So one small change can affect a dozen committees, almost every committee except for finance, and that's all run by sports scheduling. So sports scheduling, I hope they stay on schedule.
Sport runs the games. Let's drill down on just one of your sort of pieces of the puzzle. I think we'll get you back or somebody from your group, because there's a lot of stuff here that we'd love to talk about. But signage is a huge one, and again, it's something that I think when it's great, you don't really notice it because everybody ends up where they're supposed to be, and when it's not, it's bad. So give us a little bit of a glimpse into what we're looking at for signage just for these games.
There's a lot of signage, and as you pointed out, there's this big sign at the north end and the south end of town that have been erected. There's also 2 logos on the C.A. Nesbitt ice surface. There will be 2 coming in the curling rink and 2 in the Gordon Beard. But there's 4 levels of signage in the community. There's the community signs, where if you're coming into town, you may need directions for people coming to town to see the games. Directions to where the sports are and where they're held. There's signage outside the venues, identifying it. There's signage inside the venues, and then there's signage inside the field of play. And these can have a number of different purposes. There can be directional. There can be what we call look and feel, which is just getting our signage out there so that they recognize this logo that you're wearing on your T-shirt, and it just
it makes it feel like a games. It's
exciting.
exciting.
Makes it feel like a games. There's directional, there's look and feel, there's a sponsorship recognition, there's information and results that have to go out. There's a whole bunch of, and every sport and all the sports committees are going to have to tell us what they want in their particular field of play area, and we're going to have to meet those needs. This is complicated this year by the fact we've had a change in sponsor, and hence a change in all the signage. Now it's Manitoba Hydro. It used to be the Power Smart Games. Now it's the Manitoba Hydro Games. So we had a trailer load of signs coming up, which are now redundant because they all had Power Smart, and they all have to be reproduced. So we have to have all new signs. We're going to be busy in the signage committee between now and March.
It's it's an interesting glimpse into the games, I think, because it's staggering. I'm so glad it's you and not me that has to lie awake at night hoping that we get all of those put in the right place. But I think it also speaks to just how huge a project these games are. When we took them on, we thought 13 sports, 15 events, this is going to be crazy. Nobody ever thought 300, kilometer and a half of scrim signs that we're going to have to put up. Quickly tell us what that is, and then we'll wrap things up.
Well, scrim signs are about 1 meter high and 5 meters long, and they're the same sign, the look and feel of the games. But we have 1.5 kilometers of them. 300 5-meter long signs that will be attached to fences. They'll be attached to railings. They'll be attached around the top of the arena. They'll be everywhere. You'll see the look and feel of the games. You'll know what this logo represents, and you'll know who the major sponsor of this game is when it's done. And I hate to correct you on one thing, but I hope that you're wrong. Okay. I hope it's not me that's lying awake at night worrying about signage. I hope it's Ed and Ryan, not me. If I've done my job right, it's Ed and Ryan that are awake at night regarding signage.
I love it. A couple people from your team. Paul Pritchard, thanks for joining me. We're looking forward to having the games. You've got a lot on your plate, but we know you can handle it, so it's going to be great. Manitoba Games are coming to Thompson March 4th to 10th. They're the Manitoba Games powered by Manitoba Hydro. Look for us on all social media at, what are we? #PlayNorth. That's what it is. And if you want to sign up, we need more volunteers. We could have people helping us. www.manitobagames.ca is where you can sign up.